Welcome to the Construction Show. These episodes are being produced while I'm still in Vancouver in our studio, but Gowdy Molina is on the floor producing them from the world of concrete in Vegas, and we are covering a lot of ground in this show. Today we have Motive, and Gary Johnson from Motive is with us. He is the head of safety and compliance strategy. Gary, we've been chatting off air. Great to have you on the show. It's been great talking to you. Hopefully we can continue that with the cameras rolling.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for this opportunity, and I wish you were here. That's all I could say. I wish you were here. So
Well, next year, this World of Concrete is an annual event, right?
that is correct. Yeah, it's every year here in Vegas, and it really produces a lot of interaction, a lot of conversations, and you get to reconnect with a lot of friends. That's what I love about this. The industry is so small to begin with, but then you add a lot of your friends and your clients together, and it's just a great opportunity. I really do enjoy coming here every year.
I've been there once a few years ago, and this was, well, probably 6 years ago now. And it was
Oh,
just an amazing show, like amazing. I think World of Concrete, Con Expo, Mine Expo,
yeah.
events I've been to in the US, those three, I don't think anything even comes close to how good those are.
I agree. In the construction community, which I'll take it as, is so wonderful in itself. So when you get everybody together in those platforms, like you just said, or those conferences, it's just a lot of fun. They do a great job planning these events, and you have, just the individuals that are out there working every day
Yeah.
just to really, bring the infrastructure, bring all these construction projects together. And it's great conversations. It really is.
Gary, how long have you been with Motive yourself? What's your background?
Motive, I've actually only been here just a little over a year, but I am been into the transportation industry for over 38 years now. So 38 years, 27 of that was actually in and leading safety organizations, a few of Fortune 500 companies that I supported all the way down to small, private ownership. So I've been very blessed that I've been in the industry that long. But the last 10 years, I actually have been in the technology space. In fact, I actually was with a competitor of Motives for the last 9 years. So I really got the perspective and watching Motive from what I would really say a competitor's view.
Mm.
And then when I had the opportunity to come over to Motive, having seen that, knowing them as long as I have, it was a quick transition to come over. And I'll tell you, I am truly proud and blessed to be a part of this team. Motive is led by a great leadership organization, along with all the men and women that support it. So truly a blessing that I get to continue my career doing things that I love, like safety. Obviously, I'm still a safety guy at heart, but ultimately supporting how I can and where I can. And that's what I really do in my role is I support the organizations, the sales, the product, the marketing through the efforts of looking through the lens of a end user. Because, for many years I utilized the technology. I be honest, I started in this industry when there was no technology. So
Right.
I've seen the evolution. So that being the case, I really can bring sort of the support and level that I can give the examples or give the support needed for organizations that are very much wanting technology. They just don't know how to implement it, or they don't know how to integrate it into their current program. So very blessed to be in the industry as long as I have. I know I don't look 38 years of experience. Come on.
You actually
It's
don't.
the
That's
baby
I'm
face.
I'm actually not just saying that. You when you said 38 years, I was like, you actually don't look 38 years of experience
Well,
in.
I have grandchildren, so just so you know,
Really?
I'm a lot older than what I look. So,
Wow.
but and I've been blessed. We all have that part of your career. You have some challenges and then you have some blessings. This industry and all the segments within this industry have been nothing but supportive. They They bring you up when you're down. They support you when you have needs. And, how better than to be a part of an organization like Motive that really lets me continue with that and live the dream for at least a few more years yet, hopefully.
Well, hopefully more than just a few. Uh,
Well, there's retirement in the future sooner or later, so hopefully.
yeah, but yeah, well, I guess yeah, at some point you got to do that too. But you don't seem like you're that close to that, if I'm being honest.
Well, you never know. We'll see. There's a lot of fishing and there's a lot of hunting activities that need to go on in my life yet.
Yeah,
So
we were talking on
hopefully
air.
we'll be good.
You grew up in Minnesota. I grew up in a place,
Yeah,
well, in BC, but on a dirt road called Deadman's Valley. So I
yeah, I
think we
love
were
that.
chasing some of the same fun when we were growing up.
Absolutely, I love it.
Let's talk about our heavy industry world tour brought to you by Savannah Equipment, supplying mining equipment worldwide. We are heading to events across North America and Australia and filming episodes on location. Email us at info@crownsman.com to be part of Crownsman's Heavy Industry World Tour. DMH manufactures CNC lathes for seal production, semi-finished materials for seal manufacturing, as well as machine seals. But they are much more than a seal manufacturer. They supply the technology for seal manufacturing in the form of machine seal software and tooling technology. Altogether, this allows the simple manufacturing of nearly every seal within the shortest amount of time. The products are also used in a wide range of industries such as mobile hydraulics, mining industry, heavy industry machinery, oil and gas, wind energy, renewable energy, aviation, food and pharmaceutical industry, transportation, and automotive industry. To learn more, you can visit them at dmh.at. Seal technologies of the future, already today. Reduce tire-related production interruptions and enhance vehicle safety with Doran tire monitoring systems designed for off-road, earth-moving, and industrial equipment. Real-time access to accurate, reliable tire pressure and temperature information helps operators and supervisors maximize equipment performance and tire life. Doran tire monitoring systems are designed to withstand extreme operation conditions while featuring simple installation and low maintenance. Visit doranmfg.com for more information on how Doran can help reduce equipment downtime and improve safety. When you see the orange iron of a Ditch Witch machine out in the field, you can be sure of one thing: a job is getting done. As the leading manufacturer of underground construction equipment, Ditch Witch has been a catalyst of innovation for the industry since the day they were founded. And with a worldwide and world-class dealership network that features over 175 dealerships across the globe, this equipment is backed by the best. Learn more at ditchwitch.com. ZeroNox is leading the electrification of off-highway commercial and industrial vehicles. They provide a platform for clean energy technology to get to market through powertrain solutions, development partnerships, and electrification kit solutions for conversions. Reduce carbon emissions without diminishing vehicle performance or being restricted by high costs. Partner with ZeroNox, like many of the world's leading OEMs, as they solve challenges across multiple continents with their cleaner and higher performing technology. ZeroNox solutions are designed and engineered in America with offices in Porterville, California. Learn more at zeronox.com.
We pre-filmed a little section with a client that actually stepped into your booth. What's his last Ed Hernandez, I believe?
Ed Hernandez, yeah, with CRH.
Yeah.
Wonderful
Yes.
partner.
So we're going to show that clip here within a few minutes. But before we do it, I just wanted to give, obviously you're integrated into the construction world as well. So can you sort of walk us through give us that bird's eye of who Motive is, a little bit about your background, just to give us some context before we jump over to Ed?
Yeah, absolutely. And, what I would say to start it out about who Motive is. Motive, what our really mission statement is that we deliver innovative technologies to clients that help improve productivity, performance, and profitability that ultimately really drives the physical economy. And how we do that is really the strength of what I'd call that holds up Motive, and that's over 4,000 employees strong. We have 1 million connected vehicles, and that keeps growing. We have 120,000 clients, and we do this all by supporting really the needs of our clients. Even though, I'd say safety is obviously one of our key focuses, it's really about safety, but as I mentioned, really with our mission statement, it really comes down to how do we support those that have the needs out there and how can we support them through technology. So over the years, we've been able to really partner closely with those in these segments in order to deliver them the solutions that they need to really solve the problems that they're facing.
That's a huge. Did you say 1 million vehicles?
We're a million, over a million connected vehicles, correct?
Wow. What do you think? And again, we're going to bring Ed on. So, but I
Yep.
before that, before the audience sees that, I want. What do you think is the strength of Motive? Is it? I mean, I'm sure there's a few. There's the technology and the service, and what do you think sort of is that core driver?
Wow, to narrow it down to that core driver, I think, we have the strength of the technology, as we mentioned.
Hmm.
I think we have the strength of how quickly we innovate.
Mm,
Because as you know, for example, our friends here at the World of Concrete, they have ever changing needs. So it's not a one size fits all here.
right.
This is each individual that brings different, services or solutions to the construction side has obviously got their own problems. So I'd say our strength is really delivering quickly the solutions that they're seeking, but we also do it not only through the technology, but the people. You need a good team behind you to support the client base that we have. 120,000 is not a small client base. So
No.
you got to have the departments to do that. And we've been able to do that while growing rapidly in this space. So I would definitely say hands down, technology is, far the best in this with any of our competition. But our real power is gonna be the people that support it.
Yeah, and that ability to implement and innovate with that.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
because the implementation process is not an easy one, and obviously, there's a lot of complexities when you go through, so, hopefully we'll hear from Ed that, how what his experiences were when he went through this process, but Ed's, challenges are a little bit different. So we got to be able to be very flexible in this space. And I think what you've seen is those that I would tag as legacy players,
Mm.
they just haven't been able to grow quickly or quickly enough to support the clients and their needs in this area.
Yeah, the ability of a large organization to still stay sort of flexible and nimble, that's, I mean, it is the environment that you're seeing. There's a demand for it. And you're seeing some companies are doing it really well, but like you're saying, there's some companies that are legacy companies that still have trouble. They're kind of hanging on to that last little shred that they had from 10 years ago, and it completely
Oh,
shifts. But okay,
absolutely.
we should bring Ed in because it was a great clip of him that we had for about 10 minutes. So we'll jump in and then we'll jump back and we've got some case study, not case study actually. There's some studies out there that I really want to cover with you because there was some stuff in there that I certainly didn't realize. So right after Ed, that's what we're going to jump into.
Awesome.
Gary, you looped in one of your clients. You pulled them off the show floor, kicking and screaming. Look at him. You can tell he doesn't want to be here.
Yeah, not at all.
Gary, who do you got sitting with you for this?
Well, and this is the reason why we love coming to the conferences, especially the World of Concrete, because we get to spend time with our partners. And sitting next to me, I have the absolute pleasure of being next to Ed Hernandez here, who's dispatch manager for JB Parsons, which is a CRH company.
Correct. Yeah.
So, and I didn't drag you too hard, right?
No. I came pretty willingly, but
Oh, well, that's
no, I
good.
appreciate the opportunity. We've had a great partnership with Motive. It's been very successful, and I'm happy to be here and talk about it a little bit.
So how many years have we been partners
So
now?
we're coming into our third year as partners with you guys.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Well, that's great to hear. And Jared, this is what we like. We like this right here, having the partnerships with us, supporting us as much as we try to support them as we discussed earlier. So yeah, it's always a pleasure having Ed here and hopefully you can, provide really just a couple of examples of how we really have supported you and partnered
Sure.
with you.
Yeah.
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 So
Go ahead, Ed.
go ahead.
I
So
just
first and foremost, the experience for us with Motive and their people has been what has impressed me the most. They're very available, very responsive. We've been involved with them in testing new products, and we're new to Motive, relatively speaking. So to have them reach out to us and us be able to give feedback is always a good thing for a partnership, right? We can kind of help make it what works for us, but also give you good, valuable feedback. So that's been really exciting for us is working with the new products that are coming out with the Omnicams. Now having a view for the drivers as they're backing up, which is very important for us. But then, of course, they have an amazing product. So that's what's been really good is the product works. It does what it's supposed to do. And it's changed the way that we do our safety reviews. We get a full view. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. So what's the video worth, right? You get to
Exactly.
see it all. So it's really nice to have that, so we can coach our drivers, change the safety behaviors, and ultimately change our safety culture. So it's been great for that.
Ed, I wanna jump in with a question here because I asked for technology. I ask this questions to the suppliers of the technology all the time, and now I'm getting a chance to ask it to an actual user. Is the onboarding process? Were you there for the original onboarding of the
Yes, I
technology?
was.
Okay,
Yep.
can you talk about that experience because that is from what I hear a lot of times is the biggest. You've got, let's say, 100 people, and you tell them, "Hey, we got something new we're doing," and everybody goes,
Right.
"Oh, great."
Yeah, and they're just so excited to do
Yeah,
something
just
new, right? Yeah.
yeah. So can you walk us
So
through that process?
yeah, so onboarding as far as the equipment, the technology, logging our drivers in, enrolling, everything that these guys have created was easy. The challenges really came from the people, right? So we have a large group of drivers. Just the ready mix side that we have, we're pushing close to 300 drivers. So the word
Wow.
spreads fast, the fear spreads fast, and so do all the misconceptions,
Yep,
right?
yep.
So um, our drivers, what was important for us and what Motive helped us with as well, is being fully transparent and helping them understand that this is here to help you. This is this could exonerate a driver, which it has. It has saved a driver's job, and I shouldn't say it's saved many drivers' jobs, because it's the tail of the tape. And so, really, for onboarding, it was pretty seamless. It went really well. Installations were easy. It's plug and play. It's not that hard to put into your vehicles. And then it, like I said, the hardest part is the people and helping them understand why we're doing it and seeing the benefits. The quality of the video helps as well. Um, the drivers feel good about equipment that works well that they don't have to fuss with. So they're not having to adjust or move or tamper or fix because it feels like we've given them a new job, right? It just kind of sits. The cameras and the gateways, they sit where they're supposed to.
Mhm.
They record and capture footage, and the driver doesn't have to worry about it, right? So,
Did you onboard a full suite right off the bat, or was it sort of step by step? How did you approach it?
we dove in head first, and we
Okay.
decided to do all of our ready mix fleet. So, like I said, close to 300 trucks.
Wow. How long does that take?
With installations and people, it's a few weeks to a few months was the process.
Okay.
But it didn't take as long as we thought it was going to. It really was pretty quick, and we started getting that footage quickly. It's hard to gauge where we were because as we were getting footage, we were then realizing how insane it is what our drivers are put through every day.
Right. Yeah.
You get a view of not just what happens on the road, but also what happens on the job site. Ready mix drivers, and we're at the World of Concrete, so I'll talk about them a little bit. It's very unique what they do. They don't just drive. When they get to the job, they're now an operator. So they are put in very compromising situations. They have concrete to deliver and place specifically where that customer wants with chute controls, drum speed, and again, you have people on the other end of it. And some of the videos we saw were some were frightening, others were kind of funny, and then just very interesting to see what we put our drivers through every day.
Mm.
Was there a bit of I think you've kind of already alluded to it though, but it almost sort of, from what I'm hearing, it almost sounds like with management and the operators, it sort of brings the team a little closer together because all of a sudden there's sort of an understanding of what it's. I mean, I deal with it in management. It's easy to sort of,
Right.
you're trying to get things done and you sort of lose sight of what people are doing and kind of how they're dealing with things.
Right.
And did that? It sort of seems like that would sort of bring the team actually as a become a closer team, the culture of the company.
Yeah, I would say so. When appropriate, we'll share videos with in driver groups, whether it's at a plant or our entire fleet, so that they can learn from each other. And
Yeah.
so you have a driver that has maybe been put in a compromising situation, they can relate to it and say, "Hey, I was there too," or "I could be there tomorrow. Now that I've seen it, I can help prevent that from happening."
Yeah, and also the feedback when someone's giving you feedback, now you've got all this
Yes.
sort of things you can relate to as well. You can go, yeah, oh, we've been seeing that in other drivers. So now you know this is not just a one-off. Again, you're
Right.
managing a team, you hear only one
Right.
person complains, but it
Yes.
might be the problem of 10 other people, right?
Right. Yep. And like speaking of exoneration or proving yourself innocent in a sort. The conversations with customers or people that complain changes rapidly as soon as we tell them, we'll look into that. We're sorry that happened. We don't accept that kind of behavior. Let us pull the footage so that we can coach that driver. As soon
Right.
as you say, let us pull that footage, well, you know what? It's okay. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. Their story kind of changes
Yeah.
because you kind of got them right.
Yeah.
So, and that's just one small little thing that we've noticed when customers or the public will call in and complain because we're a big target. We're big trucks on the road,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so yeah, that piece has definitely been interesting.
Gary, how do you approach when, and while Ed's on, I think it's more interesting to ask it now. Is how do you approach when someone's got 300 fleets? And I'm talking day one to before they onboard that whole planning process. What is your viewpoint of it? And then also, I'm going to ask the same question to Ed to sort of see what the differences are as you're planning to hopefully onboarding. As to Ed, you're choosing who you're going to onboard in this program. So, Gary, can you go first on that?
Absolutely. And I'd say that where we emphasize the importance of the entire relationship from the very first meeting to even throughout the relationship, it's all about the emphasis of partnership and understanding what our clients' needs really are. And with those needs, what are the pain points? What are the actual, goals and objectives? What are you trying to achieve with the technology of as far as what it's going to solve? And it's through that process that we then work very close with our key stockholders here in the fact of, okay, then let's build a plan on this entire implementation or rollout. If that includes a trial process, we work very close so they get to kick the tires, slam the doors, make sure that the technology is exactly what they want. And then, of course, when they become a partner with us directly, then it's the ongoing relationship and partnership that continues on. So it isn't a one and done. The
Right.
last thing we want to do is get in, get the equipment installed, and then turn around and walk away. It's a continuous process because we aren't successful unless our clients are successful. So once they're successful, we're going to continue to work with them and grow with them. The key, our success with our roadmap and technology is the feedback from our valued customers. So because of that, we will always, continue to talk with them, to have reviews, to go over all their quarterly details or data or however they want, just so we know that we're going to grow and move with them instead of just giving them a one and done solution.
Yeah,
Well said.
and I'm gonna expand on my question a little bit from that answer. So when you're again quickly walk through sort of that initial planning stages of who you're going to onboard and sort of how you make that decision. But also something that Gary brought to mind is How do you also communicate while you're trying to, a year later, 2 years later, you're trying to bring other people on, if there's little glitches, all these things that happen in the process, sort of that communication element. But let's start with the initial decision making.
So I'll tell you our ultimate goal, right? That's to keep our people safe. We want to keep our people safe, and we know that there is technology out there that can help us do it. It's all about coaching, giving feedback, and what do you do with that behavior when it's noticed, right? Because you can have all this technology and not do anything with it, and you accept it and let it happen, and now you're culpable in a sense because you're allowing it to happen.
Mm,
So for us, it was important to have something that we could have really good reporting. So they have their driver scores that calculates driver behavior, not just, okay, did you run into something, but hard steering, hard braking. There's accelerometers, there's AI technology that will actually let us know if we have distracted drivers, if we have drivers that are, um, you know, doing any of the behaviors that we don't accept, right? And so what was important to us is being able to find a company that had the technology to see that was reliable, but also that we could measure from. So we could measure and see how our drivers are doing. Are we really improving our drivers' behaviors, and is our fleet safer?
and then 3 years. You said okay. You've been on board now for 3 years, right?
Yes. Yep.
It's sort of year three. What's the difference from the year one to year three? Now that communication, but also just implementation. From that first year, was it what is it very similar because it's a solid program, or has it evolved even how you use the program? By the
So
third year,
yeah, I would say we use the program very similar to how we did in the beginning stages because we knew what we wanted to do with it.
right?
Um, but as far as like the what we've seen in driver behavior and what has changed, the first year to the second year was a huge impact. I
Right.
mean, our safety did improve very significantly from year 2 to 3. I think we're in that. So we kind of got to a plateau quickly, but
Mm.
it hasn't regressed.
The other question before I let you go, and I know you need to. Is there's obviously worker shortages. We're hearing about that all the time.
Right.
But it seems to me that this program would help with that when you get new drivers, get them into the culture, the safety culture of the company quicker, make sure that they're, they're alert at the wheel and all that. Has that helped with bringing in new people?
So I'll tell you where it has helped and where it can help is the labor pool is very shallow,
Hmm.
and we're having to hire inexperienced drivers. We now have a tool where we can see how they're performing and capture behaviors before they happen, hopefully. And so, with the coaching, every time a driver does something that's not favorable, we can go into the dashboard, review the video, and give the driver the feedback. Where we have more and more drivers that maybe we wouldn't have looked at in the past, it's comforting and nice to know
Yeah.
that we have a program that will help us turn them into good, qualified, safe drivers.
Yeah, Ed, I know you got to go. Thank you for your time. I could keep you here. I mean, Gary's giving me what 10 minutes with you. I don't feel like that's fair. I should have got a whole hour, but whatever. No, I know there's lots we could cover, but I do appreciate your time and thank you for stepping in.
No, absolutely. Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Okay, so we just saw Ed come on the show. So now, Gary, I want to jump into some of these studies because there are some stats here in both of them that especially there's a one called potential like vehicle safety on the roads and things like that. I really want to cover that.
Right.
But before that, there's one called state of construction report. Um, Maybe if you could just give us a snapshot of it, and then let's dive into some of what's in there.
Yeah, I'm happy to. And let me start by first saying the blessing about, not only the resources we give our clients, but also it's on our public website, thegomotive.com, is that we produce a lot of resource material, a lot of studies, a lot of blogs, a lot of, white papers. So there isn't any shortage of the knowledge that we can provide because we do have obviously with the employees here a lot of great talent that really can produce this type of materials. So the state of construction, where I'll start with that, it really is a subset of a study that we did in early 2023 called the Status Safety Study, which is also tagged as the cost center misconception. So the big study really was a survey of 1,100 companies, 1,100 that we didn't really matter who we surveyed. We wanted a great mix, so it wasn't just owners or safety people. It represented close to 1 million vehicles out on the highways. And what we really wanted to get an understanding for is where's the mindset of safety when it comes to these companies, but more so, what is the investment in technology to get there? So to give you an example of the state of safety, when we surveyed, the 1,100 customers, the very first question that we ask is safety a priority in your organization? 95% absolutely came back with yes, safety is a priority in our organization, which is great to hear. That's what a safety person really wants to hear. Where it goes off the rails really quick is the second question, and it was rank your top 3 priorities for 2023. Increasing revenue was number 1, minimizing expenses was number 2, and safety came in third.
Mm.
So in this arena, what you're seeing is priorities change sort of given the circumstances. And in this case, through that study, it's a very lengthy study, and I welcome anybody to go and get a copy. It really dives into then where does the investments come into this? Well, how do you approach safety? And in those investments, what kind of return is on it? Now, when we sort of fast forward to the state of construction, what we did is we took a subset of obviously those 1,100, and we wanted to focus specifically on the construction segment. So we surveyed obviously specifically 400 of these clients and customers and asked them sort of the same questions, but really focusing on what is important to them. Surprisingly, it came back with 41% said increasing revenue is our main focus. It was 18% that actually even mentioned safety as being a focus. So you can see that really in the construction segment, we're much more driven by the revenue approach. And we can probably understand that in 2022, this industry really struggled. We had the post-COVID hangover. And then, of course, we got into the supply chain shortages.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the cost of materials skyrocketed. You have inflation. So I can definitely see that, with the survey results, why safety was very much a focus. But when we continued and started to ask about, some of their focuses for the year, clearly fuel was number 1. And obviously with the increase, and we saw with that, the rise in the fuel costs, that's a big impact to any business. But then it was things, like driver shortages, increases insurance, vehicles, sitting idle, meaning, you got the utilization issues.
Mm-hmm.
But safety still came in number 5. But where we are saying, and really how we summarize this study, is that we need to do a better job in this industry, really educating, especially the construction segment, on how investments really can get you a return. So when we're battling some of these other factors when it comes to the cost of an operation, safety is very much a big part of that expense. So getting the return on that is very much key because we know that, artificial intelligence is a big part of technology today. Clearly in our cameras, our dash cameras, our AI Omnicam, our auxiliary cameras, we're seeing the savings and the returns on just that type of investment.
Mm-hmm.
But when you ask these companies in this survey, why haven't you invested in this technology or dash cameras? They come back with 2 big answers, and that is we don't have the budget and we don't think it's going to do anything. So we need to do a little bit better in this survey. It really came back with the results that we have a lot more education to do.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it really speaks and gives a statement. And that's where this larger study, where we say the cost center misconception, people, especially that support safety, need to see it that it isn't a cost center item, it's a profit center item. So the more you invest, the more you return, the better you address your minimizing expenses and increases your revenue. So study is very comprehensive as well. It's a wonderful study that really gives you a look into what is really driving the companies here.
Mhm.
But it also tells you that safety is sort of misaligned. We say priorities, but priorities are changed given the circumstance. Whereas if they take the approach that safety is a value, values don't change. You stick with that value, that core value. So we got a little work in the education process. That's what we're here at Motive, is to help out. And that's where our focus is. But it's a great study.
It is.
I
It's
I
very
really
interesting.
push to go get it.
Yeah, well, no, and we'll put a link to it and everything like that, for sure, because it is a great study. And what sort of stood out to me, you kind of touched on it already, is that you almost, it sort of happened with electrification
Yeah.
that where people, well, I ended up buying. I remember I bought a little, like a little Prius hybrid car. I actually ended up buying two of them, because it worked for me for what I wanted it to do. I didn't buy it because I wanted an electric car. I bought it for where it fit into what my lifestyle was. And I think I think most people are like that. People can say, it's about the environment and it, but at the end of the day, people are their first responsibility, and I think as it should be, is to their families.
Yeah.
Right? And it's similar with
Absolutely.
businesses when if the priority is profitability and, cost management and all that sort of thing, where do you see Motive's responsibility then to sort of you almost have to shift your communication to speak that language with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And you brought up a great point. The most valuable asset in a business is its people. And not only, and I'm speaking from the lens of a safety guy, it's your obligation to protect that asset, that person. And how you protect that is from injury, from obviously anything else that can go wrong. And, and that goes in sort of what you stated about family. Let's be honest. You become a family in an
Yeah.
organization. So you have the obligation. And I tease a lot of businesses when I go in when they say, well, I just want to just put technology in half of my fleet. Well, that's like picking which one of your kids you're going to insure. Do I just not do one and I do another? And it's like, it's not the approach. But there is enough research studies that says going and investing will give you the return. You can ask any of your vendor partners, and there's countless testimonials. We heard from Ed, ultimately that, you have enough research that it is worth it. And I think you're exactly right. We need to approach it as now with this study, which is great. It really gives us a different approach of how we can deliver the needs or the solutions that will really continue to protect that asset.
Right.
As businesses are business. At the end of the day, they got to make money. That's what they're here for. And they need to provide for their employees. But, there's a level of protection that goes along with that as well.
Yeah, but as we heard from Ed, I mean that bottom line, the leap from implementing something like Motive to increasing the bottom line is like it's not a leap. It's maybe a hop, more like a little shuffle.
Yeah.
Like they're pretty closely linked.
Absolutely. It's literally a baby step. But it's getting the mindset.
It's the
I
mindset.
started in
Yeah.
this I started in this, technology field at the infancy, at the beginning of this. And I obviously started in safety when there was zero technology. I've seen the importance of what technology brings to an organization now, the data. We have so much at our fingertips that is utilize that you can be proactive versus the reactive. And, as we heard from Ed, it's a matter of just taking that step. Once they see it, they have it, the value comes out. And now it's the right investment. It
Yeah.
really is.
Well, I will say another thing too is that when you like, when I was younger, that the safety stuff and all that was annoying. Just frankly, it's
Oh,
just an
yes.
annoying thing. Now, if I was joining an organization, especially on any sort of manual side, if I was, not just trucking, when you're operating a vehicle, you're also dealing with assets.
Yes.
Just chaining down a vehicle can be dangerous. Like there's a lot that goes into it, and so now I would not join a company. For me,
Oh,
now having a family of my own and I've fortunate enough to have all my fingers still, which could have easily not happened in some of the jobs I worked. Um, I would not be at a company that didn't have proper training.
yeah.
I do not want to jump on a machine without proper certification. Like I want no part of that now. Like I just don't need it.
No.
Yeah.
We're farm kids. What did we do with the equipment? You took all the safety stuff off of it because it was a
Yeah.
nuisance and got in
Yeah.
your way. But
Yeah.
you're
Why do you need
exactly
a
right.
guard?
But it's like a seatbelt. Let's be honest. We all
Yeah.
grew up in an age where we didn't have to have seatbelts at that time. But now it's habit, it's behavior. And Ed brought it up beautifully about how he does have employees now that's what they look for. They want that
Yeah.
technology
Absolutely.
in there.
Yeah.
And statistically, and it's in the other study that you referenced earlier, the roadways are getting dangerous or more dangerous. And because of that, what better than to protect your employees from? It's not only those that are out on the roadway, that's the biggest challenge, but it's also your employees that are interacting with that traffic.
Yeah.
So
Well, you brought up that this was a crazy stat that I was not expecting and sort of horrifying. I cycle a bit, so it's really scary for me. The traffic fatalities in 2021 were at the highest levels reported since 2005. Injured from
yes,
traffic accidents increased 9.4% from those experienced in 2020. The injury rate per
absolutely.
Yeah, it's the injury rate per 100 million miles traveled also increased by 1.3%. I mean, since 20, you would think, I mean, I cannot imagine that is, I mean, cell phones, I'm sure, are a huge part of
Oh,
that statistic. A huge
it
part.
is. Distraction is obviously the biggest culprit. It continues to be a battle. Fatigue is obviously there's a whole host of behaviors that is going to play into that. But look at the multitasking that's happening now. I
Yeah.
mean, you go anywhere and the distractions that not only on the outside, obviously environment, but the inside. There's as a safety guy, we always reference this, and it sort of goes to this study about talking about how dangerous these nation highways are, and they really are deadly. But in the world of safety, we talk about the safety ecosystem,
Mm.
and the safety ecosystem is a balance of the human, the machine, and the environment. And any time that you have an unbalance of that ecosystem, one of the other factors has to bring it back into balance. So, for example, it is snowing out, just recently we had all this snow. So the environment is out of balance. So the human and the machine need to bring it in harmony. So they got to they got to drive properly. The problem is that when you have the human that is out of balance, you got to rely on the equipment or the environment, which is very challenging. So, what do you do now when you have the human that is distracted on their cell phone? It elevates the risk. And that's really what it comes down to is balancing and mitigating that risk. And how you do that, that's where I emphasize the importance of technology because at the end of the day, statistically, it shows that the commercial vehicle driver, in this case, let's say, the majority of the accidents that they're involved in are not their fault.
Yeah, that was the other thing
Usually,
I saw in there. Yeah.
absolutely, 70 to 80%, depending on the segment, it's the passenger vehicle that is actually the one at fault. It is, really the commercial driver or the driver that is not at fault. And this is why I preach, and I am very much a preacher of safety and the technology is when you really look at our drivers, I liken them to clearly the professional athlete. The professional athlete looks at game film. The professional athlete always goes through, uses technology to hone their craft. We call our drivers professional drivers. They should be utilizing the
Yes,
technology, the game film,
that's a great
to
point.
do the same thing.
Yeah,
And that's what we can offer. The tools of today are nothing like when I started or even 10 years ago.
yeah.
And we're only going to continue to get better. So get on the train is what I'm basically saying. And those, I get it. You're trying to run a business and manage and minimize your expenses. But sometimes you got to invest and
Yeah.
you got to invest so you get those returns back.
Well, you talk about drivers being at fault. Just the other day, I was driving alongside a lady, and she, I don't have email or anything on my phone. I'm fortunate enough I was able to cut all that stuff out. So I don't
Nice.
have a lot of those distractions. And so now I get to judge other people because I used to be the worst, the worst.
Yep.
I just don't have the control to not, if emails coming in, I am I'll pull over in the middle of a busy
Yeah.
street to look. It's terrible. But now I get to look at everybody else and judge them. So I was driving and she was looking at her phone. I could have got out of my car and crawled on the top of her vehicle and she would have no idea. She would have had
Yeah.
no idea. And the other thing that I see all the time with operators is, and I'm guilty of this one too, is that when you want to merge into a lane, well, who do you use? Use the trucks because they can't stop and start. So you
Yeah.
use them to merge and jump in, and and I watch people. They get cut off. I bet you trucks get cut off 100 times a day.
Oh, absolutely. If you've ever want to really see or get the reality of what you just said, just go right along with anybody in a commercial vehicle.
Yeah,
And I'd even say service vehicles, but nobody likes that big, slow moving vehicle. And ultimately, that's why you see that statistic because of all that interaction. And I'll tell
yeah,
you, and I'll go back to Ed referencing, when they started getting the film in and the videos of just how it opened their eyes. And
mhm,
you get to see it's a window in the cab of the vehicle, and you get to see all that. And a lot of times, a lot of what we do driving, even our personal vehicles, is muscle memory.
yeah,
Anytime it's sort of like pilots. Pilots, why did they do the repetition? It's because of muscle memory. It's no different than how you react because everything in our life, especially around driving aspect, is seconds. It's split seconds is how it will react. And because of that, you got to be able to perform. Well, if you're distracted or fatigued, hopefully never impaired, that delays all that. So it is always a struggle. And that's sort of what you're seeing is this, in the construction and no different than the transportation industry is how do you battle those? How do you stay ahead? Well, you do that
mhm,
through game film. You do that through practice, through communication, education.
yeah.
And that's how you're going to continue to keep your fleet safe.
Yeah, and just to wrap, and I think, and I've been saying it, that technology, especially in construction and mining and energy, it actually makes us more human. It is
Oh,
not a
absolutely.
natural thing to be in a giant vehicle with a combustion engine with thousands of pounds on the back and no way of, like you're saying, no game film, no way of communicating, no way of tracking. That is unnatural. That doesn't make sense. It's
Totally unnatural, and as mentioned before too, a lot of the people in this space, driving is a small portion of their job.
yeah,
So
it's the
now
A to
if
B.
you get them stressed out in an environment of driving, and then you put them in a crane or you put them in a concrete truck or anything else, and it just adds to it. So I that's why I have mad respect for anybody that's in the industry of what they're trying to accomplish, what they're trying to achieve, make money,
Yeah,
run a business. But it really comes back to that, the most important asset is your people.
yeah. And just a side note, the other thing I saw in that study is, just in case anybody's wondering about cost, an increased cost of insurance is like up to 53%. So,
Yeah,
and again, if it's not the driver's fault, which quite often it's not, but you're getting dinged for it, you're paying that insurance because of someone else's, because it's people like me cutting them off. So,
absolutely.
that's it's a big thing. Yeah, it's uh,
It's huge. It's a domino effect, really, is what it comes down to. And, if everybody did their part, just like what you did, which is amazing, cut out those distractions. You're doing your part. We just need everybody else to do their same part.
well,
So,
I mean, and anybody can tell me whatever they want. I can just speak for me. If I'm sitting there and my phone's buzzing in my pocket, sometimes it's not. Sometimes
yeah,
it's on silent, and I'm thinking about checking it. It's just they're flashy and they're designed very well for distracting you, and they're very effective.
absolutely.
Um,
And they're very effective.
yeah,
It's that connection to the life, they say, but, that connection is also can be the opposite.
yeah,
And, statistically, there's too many cases out there where it really was life ending. And
yeah, yeah,
we gotta take
absolutely.
the approach. It's you want to be there for your family. My loved ones are out on the road. So I got
Yeah,
grandkids that are out on the road with, their parents. And I need everybody to drive to protect them.
yeah,
And, that's really what the approach needs to be, is just really, I look at the construction individuals to protect my family. I look at the trucking, the government. I can go through all the segments.
yeah,
It really is protecting life
yeah,
and protecting my family.
yeah. That's a great way to end it. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Gary. And then bringing Ed on, and I can tell that you and I could probably go for another hour without too much. We're
Absolutely.
also you're the youngest of seven. I'm the youngest of nine.
Yeah,
Grew up hunting, fishing, the whole deal. So
I like it.
we could cover a lot of ground, but I will have
We
to leave it
could
there today.
easily. Well, if you're ever in Wisconsin, that's where I live now. I have a hunting property out there, that nice cabin. And some of the best hunting I've ever done is with a cup of coffee sitting on the porch. So,
Well, I actually might take you up on that because it does sound very nice. So thank
oh,
you.
it is.
Gary, hopefully we do this again. Thank you for setting this all up for us. I appreciate it. And Paige, I know she's off camera somewhere close by. Thank you for organizing it as well. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity. It's been wonderful.
All right. And thank you everybody for watching. We're going to have links to those both those studies. I mean, we glossed over them, but trust me, you want to have a read. They're very interesting. There's some very interesting stuff in there. Of course, we'll have a link to Moda's website and their LinkedIn and everything like that. Go check them out, and we will see you on the next episode of The Construction Show.